the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Having that bona fide stud in the middle of the lineup is kind of, I think, just freed up everybody else to just naturally be who they are. And I think that's kind of the case for Bargo. A lot of the season, he was good enough to hold up, and he wasn't the best four-hole hitter, cleanup hitter in SEC, but he was productive enough. But a bad stretch for Dalton Bargo in the 7, 6, 7, 8 hole, it's a lot less detrimental than a bad stretch for him in the cleanup spot like it was for Tennessee to end this past season.
Ethan, we did most underrated big in the Rick Barnes era last week. The most underrated wing in the Rick Barnes era for you is who?
Yeah, I had to think about the question last week. It's kind of easy to say because he played here for 5 years, and I feel like the fans kind of favored up to him a little more as he went along, as he progressed in his career. But I kind of think he was a similar player throughout those entire 5 years. He gave you the stuff you don't see on the stat sheet. He was kind of a lesser Jemima Shack in that regard. An elite defender, a better rebounder than you'd think for his size. And I think what was especially valuable about James is, he could play 1 through 4 if you absolutely needed it, as he played a little bit at the 4. But if Barnes needed him to, he could probably play at the 5 for not many minutes. But he could in a break glass in case of an emergency situation. You could put him at the 5, and I think that versatility was just massive for Tennessee teams that were kind of transitioning into the Elite 8 teams that we've had in the 2 back-to-back years. And obviously he was huge on that last in 2024 in the run where Tennessee, obviously playing alongside Dalton Knecht when the Vols kind of needed a number 2 behind him. I'm not saying Josiah was that guy the entire time, but he put up a couple games.
Really good in that Texas game in the tournament.
Yeah, he was. He just had a few underrated games. I think underrated is a perfect word for him. I think some Vol fans, some just college basketball fans in general, just really overlook what he did at Tennessee. And while it wasn't the sexiest stat lines all the time, but he always did something to impact the game on the court, and that's bigger than you'd think, especially in the college game.
Yeah, I think Triple J is a good one, and I think he's a good pull in a lot of ways. But I do think it's interesting because he's a 4-5-star. He was a big win at the time. Like, it feels like forever ago.
Well, go ahead. I'll make my point.
Well, I just think you just don't know how blue chip guys are going to adapt to being team first guys. Where it's clear that you're not getting the Nate Ament treatment at Tennessee. Like, you're going to be a different kind of player. You can be extremely valuable, but we're not going, you're going to have to evolve, because Josiah-Jordan James, I'm sure, was just unbelievable at the high school level and was the guy on his teams. And then he had to evolve.
He did play with Baron Smith.
Oh,
so he might not have been a guy till his senior year.
That's true. So there you go. But I do think he deserves so much credit for being a great leader. Like, Josiah just really was a natural leader and was around forever and loved UT. Like, he's someone I think we're going to see back around UT a lot years from now. I think he's someone who's going to be an ambassador for, like you said, he wore a lot of different hats every year because the team around him kept changing, and Triple J had to keep getting accustomed. Like, even in his last year, Dalton was a huge change for what he was being asked to do and how he functioned around a player like Dalton Knecht. So, I don't know. I agree that Josiah-Jordan James, there's a lot of 5-stars who don't go down that rabbit hole, who don't just lock into being team first guys and do whatever it takes every year and evolve with the team and the roster change and turnover and just get better and keep figuring it out and keep making the most of it. And also, I don't know, I just think he's just likable. Like, it was just a good player that everyone liked, and I just think he's a great 5-star long-term case where it's like some of these guys were Julian Phillips, man. Like, you get a couple more years, like, who knows what you could have potentially developed into as a glue guy for Tennessee. But I don't know. I do think Triple J was a great story, and yeah, I like that call. Do you have a different one, Ryan?
No, I think that's a no-brainer. The thing, a couple notes I would just add, I think, he was hurt so much, just perception, by being a 5-star in the long run. If he had been the number 60 player in the country, I think he really would have been beloved. And I think people kept waiting for him to be something that he wasn't, which was a go-to scorer.
Yeah.
And I think once once you accepted Josiah-Jordan James for what he was, which was a really good glue guy that was just going to be streaky offensively and not a reliable scorer, you could just appreciate how important he was to Tennessee and how many different things he did. And Ethan laid it out. I wrote about it in 2024 to your point, Chase, about how I thought Dalton was such a good thing for Josiah. He took a lot of offensive pressure off of him, and Josiah was a fantastic player for Dalton to play beside because he could clean up so many of Dalton's mistakes defensively, especially as he was growing early in that season. So to me, he's a no-brainer just because of a lot of those reasons. Like, I think he was the definition of underrated, even though to the naysayers, point, he could really be maddening at times offensively with some of his inconsistencies. And then just on the other end, like Tennessee, there hasn't been a whole lot of middle ground on Tennessee's wings. They've had a guy like Dalton Knecht who was unbelievable, and they've had a ton of years where they just haven't had very good wings. So they've played 3 guards a ton of the time. I mean, the early, Admiral is very beloved as a wing player, as he should be. Jordan Bowden played some 3, but he was really a guard. The 2021-22 team played 3 guards with Zakai, Kennedy, and Santi a lot. And, I think you would, Jemai, I think properly rated and beloved. So I don't really think there's a ton of guys. I think everybody else, I guess what I'm trying to say is everybody else that was a wing at Tennessee, I think is kind of viewed pretty accurately, which to me makes Josiah the obvious choice.
I like it.
One thing I'll just add, throwback wing name. Not really underrated, but I was just trying to go through my head as I was looking at the rundown for other possibilities. Throwback wing name, Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
He had some moments on that 2019-20 team. Not a very good team, but he had a couple moments.
That is a throwback name. I haven't thought about Jalen Johnson, and I couldn't tell you, Ryan. That's
a long time.
That's amazing. Mercer legend, Jalen Johnson, if I remember correctly.
That's right. I'd completely forgotten about that. I knew he transferred. I didn't remember where he ended up at.
That's a good pull. Ryan, is it time to pencil in Ariel Antigua, Appy League?
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.